I think that this is the time. This is going to be the setup for a hype Gajeel moment. So, God Serena right now obviously is looking better. And I didn't expect Gajeel to show up and just, treat him like Natsu treated Blue Note. I figured it'd be much more of a actual set fight to where there was going to be a level of threat to his opponent. I didn't think it was just going to be, I'm just going to crush you to show off my power level. I believe Gajeel will win, but I don't think it's just going to be something as easily as like, oh yeah, let me just measuring stick this character. Whereas I think when he wins, it'll be, yeah, you understand the character that he overcame. Probably one of the easiest out of the characters in verse because he is a Spriggan. We also know his Wizard Saint status, so it's very easy to place him above a lot of characters. The second you really get at it, so any characters overtaking him gives a really good understanding of where they sit at. But at least as of right now, God Serena isn't, like, he's not just, like, meeting Gajeel punch to punch, and then just every time he's just overcoming him, and he's jumping on top, and Gajeel doesn't get any room to breathe. We've only seen him so far just counterplay. He waits for Gajeel to do something, figures out what he has, the best solution to whatever that instance is. Oh, he's going to go for his Iron Dragon Sword, go for a diamond attack, try and match the durabilities. Oh, he's going to go for a shadow attack, hit him with light, mess with the shadow, and then attack him while he's open. I really like to see more. And obviously this chapter was way more so on information. Like, I think it was over like half of it was just kind of like them chatting and having some conversations, dialogue, which I'm fine with. I'm hoping that the next chapter we see a couple more techniques and moves from God Serena. I like my biggest thing by the end of it is like I'm hoping God Serena gets a good showing because we don't know if he's gonna stick around in terms of the 100 Years quest or if he's gonna be done after this. He might stick around and be like one of the more frequent members of Gold Owl. I'm fine with that. I don't think Gajeel's gonna kill him. I think Gajeel's, when he gets to him, he's just gonna really hurt him. Because I don't think if he gets given the opportunity, he's gonna kill him. He's not that guy. So with this whole setup, God Serena, I think he just ultimately needs to give us a little bit of a good demonstration. If he's not going to give us any backstory, I would like him to do that later on. Like, again, like I said, if he ends up sticking around, he becomes a regular for Gold Owl, we'll see. It's because I don't think that this chapter is going to be, this fight rather is going to be too long in comparison. Like when you think about like a fight with that it's supposed to both be a Gajeel importance, kind of, whatever, a big step for his character, some form of progression, some form of advancement fight, but also a flashback for God Serena. That would take up like the whole rest of the chapter, and then we wouldn't probably really get a fight, and then maybe like he finishes him off in the following chapter. If God Serena ends up sticking around, then I want to get his backstory, but I would much rather get Gajeel, like a Gajeel inner moment, and also some more fight stuff in the next chapter, more so than God Serena backstory. Because like I think that this is a Gajeel. This is like a part where it's like, though God Serena is involved, I think Gajeel is the center stage of this. But I'm not opposed to God Serena having stuff later. But it's like when you look at legitimately just the situation, and there's the unknown of whether God Serena will stick around, I'd much rather have Gajeel have a really good moment than God Serena have a really good moment and find out more about God Serena. Because though God Serena, like, I like him as much as like you could say like a character who ultimately you have no like real negative or positive opinions. At least as of right now, I think he's done a little bit more to make me like him, a little bit more positive. I like finding out all his elements. I like that now we have a little bit, general, a little bit more information about him. I like that his whole counterplay fighting style. I thought that was pretty cool. But I don't think that a victory for him or anything looking good for him is good at the expense of Gajeel, because it's not like when Laxus showed up and then, we got Scullion and Madmal off screen and then Kieran showed up. And then the next thing we saw, Laxus was getting pressed by Kieran. That sets a level because, one, we know that Gajeel is not the strongest in the group, whereas like Laxus, besides Natsu, Laxus was the strongest in the Fairy Tail group that was going into this arc. So seeing the guy who is like supposed to be the strongest out of the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights pretty much just straight press Laxus off screen, it builds a level of tension and then a level of worry about this character. With God Serena, if God Serena ends up beating Gajeel and that's the end of that, I don't think it would really do the same because we know that there are multiple characters stronger than Gajeel. Like there's that idea, obviously, like Gajeel could get stronger, like there's still potential for him to progress. But if you were just to look at him right now and then say, like, you put Natsu against God Serena, it's like, really, I don't think Natsu's going to have remotely as much trouble as him. Like, he might just get a little tricked up by the multiple elements, but I think Natsu would ultimately be fine and wouldn't need the same level of potential boost that Gajeel is going to get. So, as I've seen that, people talk about that, it's like, oh, have Gajeel lose, build up the strength for God Serena and Gold Owl. We don't really need Gold Owl strength-wise to have stuff like that, because like all we really need is like, oh, God Serena just says that they're stronger than him. Cool, that's a credible character. We don't know. Well, he's credible for his own strength when he's not hyping himself up. When he said that he's stronger than Gildart, it's absolutely no shot. I don't believe that. But obviously, when he says like, "Oh yeah, these characters are stronger than me," I think that's believable without it seeming like he's just trying to hype himself up or base it off of nothing. Like, what is he basing his strength of compared to Gildart's off of? You never even saw Gildart's like in an Alvarez actually fight. He just kind of skirmished with you and boxed you up. But yes, as of right now, I think what Gajeel will probably have is it's going to be something, I think, less of a guild moment and more of a Gajeel kind of character moment. He's going to think he's going to probably get to like that kind of faded, hazy mind. Like he's starting to kind of like get a little unconscious vibe to him. And then he's going to think of like Levi and his unborn children. And I think that kind of like drive to survive and to return to his family will just kickstart Gajeel's mind and body and just like emotional state into this overset, overclocked kind of just like driving force of I need to return, like a primal call. Like he needs to get back. He's not gonna die here. He's not gonna fail here. It's not, I gotta protect the guild. It's not like, my friends need me. As much as, obviously those things can mean a lot. I think this is one of those times where I think it'd be much better for Gajeel as a character and make more sense for something just to completely, a switch to flip on and just snap would be like he's just thinking like he's fading out and then he just realizes, because it'd be way different, like obviously here from Alvarez, like when it seemed like he was gonna die and he's like thinking about the life he could have had. That life is already present, like it's in process. He just needs to make it to like when his kids are born. So I think it'd be really cool if we had something like that, and it's just like eyes fading out, you see that flash, and it's like instead of it like, oh yeah, Levi and I could have had this life, it's like, no, I have to fight for this. Like it's already here. Like, well, it's not here. It's about to be here. Like, he's got his pregnant girl. He's got to keep in mind. So, I'm really looking forward to the Gajeel fight. Like, I know it's not like the biggest fight of the arc, but I think it's gonna have like a lot of the bigger emotional stuff. I think it potentially might even overtake Lucy and Kyria in terms of the value of the fight. I think it just needs some more general fighting choreography, get some good moves in there, and then hopefully Gajeel gets some form of upgrade. If we're lucky, we'll get 2 chapters. Like we'll get Gajeel turn around next chapter, and then a 3rd chapter, it's like he gets some form of upgrade, kind of like Iron Shadow Dragon mode when he got that end the chapter on it, whatever his upgrade is, and then the following chapter is just like time for Gajeel to stretch his legs and flex pretty much for 80% of it, and then we'll have dialogue and exposition at the other bit. I'd be fine with that. Like if it afterwards, like defeated God Serena, Gajeel gives us some form of, God Serena gives us information and stuff. Not like he just tells us everything, but we get a little bit more. We end up kind of progressing towards the Dogra cores. Because if we're not gonna do anything with Diablos, and we're at 21 cores now, we're not gonna do it. Like assuming Mishima doesn't want to do anything more with Diablos this arc, then I would assume that after this, it's going to just go right to the Dogromag fight, and we're not going to have any. So I think this would be a really good step point for it. Because, like, there's still the potential. There's always that maybe of, like, against Scoleon getting back up and having the fight with Gray. I don't know if it's going to happen at this point with, like, the progression of the numbers that the Dogra cores are going down in. Because it's, was it 72, and then it was, like, a chapter so later we are, 42, now we're at 21. So, next time, probably by the end of this fight, we'll be at, like, 10. So it's like maybe like we could easily be done with them after this fight, or maybe it'll be like, oh yeah, there's 10 more and we're at the last fight and somebody else is gonna go in a match. I think that'd be really cool. I would actually really love if we get to that point, and this is the last thing I'll mention, just like we get to that point and instead of it being like, oh yeah, one more match for the 10, it's like 3 short skirmishes. Like imagine three fights, each was like a chapter and a half, and then we get to the Dogromag fight. I think that'd be really cool. You just do some stuff with the characters, and it doesn't have to be some like big emotional fights. You can just have some cool stuff where they do some cool new moves, maybe using a new ability, or just really kind of have like just a good fight. Have some cool scenes, cool panels. Doesn't have to. We'll see. Ultimately, I just really want Gajeel to have a really cool moment. I'm very intrigued with where his stuff is going to go because as I've mentioned, like out of the regular characters, the only character I would say that I think needs as much of a moment like Gajeel is probably Mira Jane because they needed to catch up. Mira Jane probably needs it more, but I think Gajeel Mira Jane needs it more in terms of like strength, but I think Gajeel needs it more in terms of like his value to the story because obviously he's more relevant in terms of current events. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend, like button, subscribe, and check out my other videos. But that, I appreciate you guys. Subscribe. Thank you all for listening. Bye.